hold it down.
The Beretta 92 with a trigger job in a bag from Langdon Tactical, along with a set of lock grips on it. And because this is an enhancement to the trigger, then YouTube will deem this not suitable for all advertisers. Therefore, it won't get ranked very high by the computer algorithm. So you can do me a favor by hitting the like button, and also certainly do me a favor by subscribing to the channel, but also commenting on it, sharing this video on other social media platforms, whatever you can do to help this video get a little bit of notice. Otherwise, it'll be buried by YouTube just because it has a better trigger. Welcome to Rider's Range, while we take a look at the Beretta 92 with a trigger job in a bag by Langdon Tactical. This is otherwise a pretty much stock Beretta 92 here, other than, of course, the lock grips that are on it right now. I want to thank my friend Brent Fisher for loaning me this gun. He's loaned me several others in the past, and some pretty nice hardware. This is actually a really nice enhancement to Berettas. I'm not a huge Beretta fan. I do have a 96. I think I showed that in one other video, and actually we're going to do a quick follow-up on that. And I am going to compare the triggers on the two of them. But this trigger job in a bag is rather interesting. This one has the Wilson Combat Deluxe hammer. There's 4 different hammer choices that you have on that. It also has the Langdon Tactical Optimized Performance Trigger Bar, and it has the 12-pound hammer spring. And Langdon recommends, at least if you're going to carry this, that at least have a 13 round. And you will see in one case here we had a misfire, and with Winchester white box factory ammo. In fact, even the second strike on that round would not fire it, but you had to put that round in a striker fired gun, and it worked just fine. So if you're going to carry something like this, you might think about going to the 13 round hammer spring. So there are several different parts that make up this trigger job in a bag. They're all drop in, although they may require just a little bit of fitting to make them work as well as possible. And from what I've read, this is about 80% of what you'll get if you send this whole gun back into Langdon Tactical and have them do the trigger job. They'll do just a little bit more than this kit will provide, but it'll also cost you a little more to do it. But let's see how it actually works out. First of all, I'm going to bring out the 96 here. By the way, no magazine, nothing in the chamber. Guns are completely empty, and I'll show you the same thing for this. No mag. Nothing in the chamber, completely empty. So let's set the 92 up here for just a minute. Let's bring out the 96. And let's look at the double action on this first. And this is a calibrated Wheeler trigger gauge. And I've showed you the calibration on this in other videos. So let's take a look at the double action and see what it is on a standard 96. Again, different guns will vary, even the exact same models. But let's just zero this again. And double action is 11 pounds, 2/10 of an ounce. And let's just get a quick pull, 5-pull average on this. All right, there's 4 pulls averaging 10 pounds, 1.7 ounces. Let's see what the 5th pull brings it in at. And that brings it into a 10 pounds, 9/10 of an ounce. So really 10 pounds, 1 ounce trigger pull with an average of 5 pulls. Let's just see how the double action compares with the Langdon kit in this 92. Reset it. Make sure we're zeroed. First pull, 7 pounds, 14.3 ounces. That's quite an improvement. And let's see how the next 5 go. All right, after 4 pulls, we're at 5 pounds, 12.1 ounce, and an average of 5 pounds, 15.8 ounces. So basically a 6-pound trigger pull, down from well over 10. That's the double action. Let's see how the single works on this. All right, so again, we're back to the 96, and the single is, first one is 3 pounds, 6 ounces, and let's try 4 more and just see what the single is. Alright, so after 5 pulls, this is 2 pounds, 1.5 ounces. And again, you can't necessarily compare one to the other. Stock guns may vary quite a bit. Set that aside and take a look here at the 92 and see how this shakes out. Although the weight of the trigger isn't really what tells on this Langdon trigger in a box, excuse me, trigger in a bag add-on. All right, so 3 pounds, 1.6 ounces to start with, pretty close to the 96. All right, so this brings it down to 1 pound, 12.8 ounces. Again, just a little bit better than we had on the 96, but the real story is not in the trigger weight. The double action is nice, again, nice and smooth, fairly long, but not a whole lot different than what we get on the double action on the 96. You can tell the trigger is actually a little bit physically thinner also on the Langdon kit than it is on the stock Beretta. But both double actions are working about the same, although obviously lighter on the 92. Where we get the difference is, you can see in the single action on the 96 we have the take-up, and there is a little bit of movement through there, but there's also a little bit of over travel, and the reset is way out to here, and then more take-up again before you get to a little bit of a wall and then push through it. Whereas the Langdon Tactical kit, trigger starts farther back. There's very little take-up, less so than on the 96, or less so than the stock trigger, and maybe about the same, and almost no wall and virtually no, in fact literally no over travel. And the reset on this is absolutely to die for. So there's that much movement, very, very little on the 92, and on the stock Beretta, long movement and then a lot of take up. So the trigger in a bag is really a tremendous enhancement for the single action and the feel of the single action, even though the weight isn't that much less. It's a little less, but the feel, particularly the reset on the single action, is just absolutely wonderful on this gun. And that did help shooting this thing. We shot it at 12 yards on the plates, and a couple of misses there. That's all on me. That certainly is not on the gun. And also shot it out to 25 yards. It did everything I wanted to there. Shot it at 50 yards. Struggled a little bit at the 6-inch plate, but again, that's me. I'm just I'm just not a huge fan of the way the Beretta feels. Although these lock grips, they're the thin profile lock grips on this. Locks are really my favorite grips, and a really nice contour to them. They do feel good. Now Brent's left-handed, so this is set up for left-handed shooter, and I could feel the magazine release a little bit on my middle finger here, but it didn't get in the way of anything. But it did work fairly well out to 50 yards. I did, however, have a couple of problems with this. I had one failed to extract, and I'm not quite sure what caused that. But I also had a fail to fire. And again, with the 12-pound hammer spring in here, I don't think that's necessarily a bad, well, not a good thing, obviously, but it's maybe to be expected with a Winchester white box or basic target type ammunition with a 12-pound spring. And again, that round did not fire even after a second hit with this. I took it out, put it back in, tried it again, didn't work. But I did put it in a striker fired gun, and that round fired off. So again, if you're going to carry something like this, I would definitely be looking at the 13-pound rather than 12. That may change the trigger just a little bit, but overall, the price for the trigger job in a box and a little bit of work you have to put into it to make it all fit is to me well worth it. But meanwhile, I want to thank Brent for loaning me this 92. That's a very nice feeling 92, and may actually get me to spring for the cost of the trigger job on my 96. So that's a relatively quick look at the Langdon Tactical trigger job in a bag for the Beretta 92. Thanks for dropping into Riders Range.